恭敬大德圣听，为此法会，及一切众生，请转妙法轮，教导我们如何了生脱死离苦得乐，殊真无生。法轮教导我们如何。Will the Sangha with great virtue, out of compassion, for the sake of this assembly and all living beings, please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach us how to leave suffering and attain bliss and end birth and death, and quickly realize non-birth.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Namo sadanto suchedoye olahadi samya sanputoshe.
Namo satanto suchedoye arahati samya samputoshe.
Okay, let's do this one together if we can. Here we go. Wu shang shen shen wei miao fa, bai qian wan jie nan zao yu. 我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Let's do this one together in unison. Ready? Here we go. Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered, even in a million eons. Here we go. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. Venerable Master, Dharma friends, Shifu Shangren, Gowei Shishong, Daja Omitofo. Good evening, everybody in Berkeley, California. Good afternoon, everybody here in Gold Coast. And good day to all of you who are joining us online later from wherever you might be. And we've learned that our webcast goes around the world. So hi, everybody. We're about to begin our lecture on the Flower Garland Sutra, the 10 stages chapter, the 10 grounds chapter, and looking forward to finding out what our sutra is going to tell us today. So we have a method of getting started, which involves invoking spiritual presence, and I'm going to take my trusty wooden fish and my trusty handbell and invite everybody to join me. We're looking at page 26. Okay, here is what we're going to be chanting. Right there. What we're going to be saying, we'll say it in Chinese, but it's Namo Da Fang Guang Fo Huayan Jing, homage to the Buddha's Flower Garland Sutra of great expansive teachings and the ocean-wide Flower Garland Assembly of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. We'll do that in Chinese. Here we go. Namo Da Fang Guang Fo Huayan Jing, Huayan Hai Hui O Pu Sa Namo Da Fang Fo ing Yen Hai Wei Fo Pu Sa Namo Da Fang Wang Fo ing Yen Hai Wei Fo Pu Sa Namo Da Fang Fo ing Yen Hai Wei Fo Pu Sa Namo Da Fang Wang Fo ing Yen Hai Wei Fo Pu Sa Namo Da Fang Wang Fo ing Yen Hai Wei Fo Pu Sa. Page 26 is what we're looking for. And find it right here. Scrolling down. Sorry about that. Kind of a seasickness experience as we scroll and scroll. Here we go. Right there. Okay, before we get started, I wanted to share with everybody a wonderful photograph. 2 days ago here in Australia, it was Australia Day. And Sam Ong and I went out to a local game sanctuary, open space preserve, not far from where we live, and found this guy way up in a tree. And this is of course, it's a koala. And if you say koala bear, what you show is you're from out of town, right? They're not bears. Koalas are indeed marsupials. They carry their babies in a pouch. And sadly enough, there are 40,000 total koalas left in the wild. 40,000 total. They're being threatened by cars, mostly by dogs, by loss of habitat. These guys eat a certain kind of eucalyptus leaf, and you can see it right here in the photo. It's this is lunch right here, and dinner and breakfast. Koalas like 3 kinds of eucalyptus leaves, and they won't eat anything else. And they're evolutionarily such a strange species because those leaves have very, very little nutrition in them at all. And so these creatures sleep 18 hours a day because their food of choice doesn't provide much nourishment. So they have to conserve all their energy by sleeping. But here he was, way up in the tree, and we found him in the wild and got his photo. He doesn't know it, but he's a poster koala for Australia Day, from Berkeley to Gold Coast. So we had fun capturing him the other day. I've got some more photos from Australia Day that I'll share with everybody later. Let's talk about what we're going to do today. We're going to continue with our investigation of the 8th stage of the 10 grounds, 10 stages chapter of the Flower Garland Sutra. And we're talking about bodies today and tomorrow, next time too. Bodies is the topic. And our Bodhisattva is now at a level of samadhi, of meditation, where he's able to activate his body's inherent ability to put out what are called hua shen, also called yin shen, transformed bodies, also called response bodies. It's completely part of what you can do and what I can do once we learn how to operate it inside our own natures. But that Bodhisattva is there now. And he's doing this because he or she is a teacher. And to get a grip on that, think about how we take care of our bodies, how we are concerned being a little too heavy for our summer beach bod, and so we diet, right? Or we think maybe we're a little too thin, and so we want to add some weight. Or we're not happy with our hair color, so we change our hair color. Or we decide we're going to grow a beard, and so we try to grow a beard. We're not happy with our beard. And we're always fussing over this body. Every single bit of medicine and healthcare has to do with bodies, right? And why they go bad and we can't control them. Well, those are bodies. And this Bodhisattva is able to create bodies at will, as he pleases, as she pleases, in order to teach. So it's pretty much outrageous to think about. And yet, here's this ability that comes from the same place. It's from the meditation that this Bodhisattva does according to the Dharma, according to the teachings. So that's what we're about. And I wanted to show you our Bodhisattva here. This is one of the 3 sages of the Avatamsaka. Here's Vairochana Buddha. And Manjushri Bodhisattva is down further. And here's Samantabhadra. So this is our magnificent new Buddha Hall here at Gold Coast Dharma Realm. And it's really an honor to be able to lecture on the text from here. We're sending it up to a screen over here so that the 9 folks who are here with me, listening to the sutra in person, can see everything that you're seeing on the screen. So it's mostly a virtual experience. Nobody here is paying any attention to me. They're all looking at the screen up there. That's so funny. Hi, I'm over here. Yeah, but we're watching the screen. Don't interfere with the broadcast. Okay, here we go. Let's begin. Bring up our text for today. Here it is, and appreciate all the work that goes into getting us online. The fact that we're not only lecturing live here in Gold Coast, but we're directly broadcasting into the Buddha Hall at Berkeley Buddhist Monastery. And at the same time, this webcast is going out to YouTube, where people can watch it all over the world if they choose. And then it's archived for later viewing as well. It's pretty amazing how technology lets us do all that. Okay, let's read this first paragraph. We'll start with Fodzi and go down to Shen. Okay, I think the way to do it with the gap in time is to read it all together instead of responsive reading that we usually do. So I won't wait for you. I'll just keep on going and you can read along too. And that way we'll finish roughly at the same time. Here we go together. 佛子是菩萨远离一切声响分别，住于平等，是菩萨之众生身、国土身、业报身、声闻身、独角身、菩萨身、如来身、智身、法身、虚空身。Okay, good. Here we go. Ready? Let's read together. Disciples of the Buddha, this Bodhisattva leaves all thoughts of different bodies far behind and abides in equanimity. This Bodhisattva knows sentient beings' bodies, the country's body, the karmic retribution's body, the voice hearer body, the solitary enlightened body, the Bodhisattva body, the thus come one body, the wisdom body, the Dharma body, and the empty space body. Okay. We're going to read the next paragraph too. Before we stop, we're going to add this. It's a better piece if we add this to it. Chinese again, here we go. 是菩萨知诸众生心之所乐，能以众生身 作自身，以作国土身，业报身，乃至虚空身。Good, thank you. One more time. Here we go. Wait. Here we go. Let's go together. Here we go. This Bodhisattva knows what makes sentient beings happy, and he can adopt sentient beings' bodies as his own body. He can do this as well with the country's body, the karmic retribution's body, and the rest, up to and including the empty space body. Okay. The teacher now is teaching on a grand scale. Usually when we say teacher, we think if we've been to an elementary school, my third grade teacher was Mrs. Stotzenberger. And Mrs. Stotzenberger was very beloved by my class, our third grade class. She was fun to be with and taught us a lot of things. Third grade, we learned about multiplication tables and long division. And I don't think we learned how to diagram sentences. I think we learned about grammar, basic grammar. And things like that. And it was one kind-hearted woman and all these young kids. In this case, the Bodhisattva is not teaching in a classroom. He or she, I'll just say he, you can fill in the female pronoun if you choose. He is teaching life lessons. Here's the Bodhisattva as a life coach, helping you make decisions that will reduce mistakes, that will reduce suffering and misery and trouble, and keep you moving towards cultivation. So in order to do that, the Bodhisattva has to be somebody you know and like and trust and are willing to listen to. Who would that be? Well, it might be a Bodhisattva. Who is that person for you? A true good friend, a Kalyana Mitra, right? A Shanzhishi, somebody who's your good spiritual friend, somebody who won't lead you astray, who won't take you to Las Vegas over Christmas vacation to have a good time. You know, you work so hard. Don't be so uptight. Let's go have a little fun, right? And hoping that you're going to forget about the last time you went to Las Vegas and everything that you lost and left behind there, including your marriage, your bank account, your wallet, your car, because you made some bad choices and went to Las Vegas and regretted it for years after. So Bodhisattva would not do that, wouldn't be that kind of person. He would instead remind you about the loss from the last time and say, yeah, you've outgrown that. It's the same old stuff, nothing different. Las Vegas is there. America's playground is for people who have a lot to lose. Is that you? Or are you trying to make something better of your life and the people who depend on you? So you go, I think I'll pass this time. Good. Let's go skiing at Tahoe instead. That'll be fun. All right. So, disciples of the Buddha, this Bodhisattva leaves all thoughts of different bodies far behind. He abides in equanimity. So, in other words, it's no longer a process for the Bodhisattva. He doesn't have to think, oh, I should do this in order to help that person. It's so much a part of what he does. It's like sunlight on water, right? The sun doesn't have to think, oh, I'm going to bounce a reflection off that water and that puddle and that cup and that lake. It just happens. Sunlight, boom, reflection, right? The Bodhisattva works that way. He abides in equanimity. He is an equal opportunity savior of us, right? Somebody who doesn't discriminate. As long as you're suffering, his vows are not done. He's going to come back until our suffering's over. Okay? Now, the sutra goes into it and it tells us some of the details of what's available to you at this state. When you're an 8-stage bodhisattva, These are things you know. Guaranteed there'll be 10 of them, right? Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 kinds of bodies that this Bodhisattva knows. The verb here is zhi, right? 是菩萨知, right? This Bodhisattva is familiar with, is acquainted with, recognizes 10 kinds of bodies that he can move into in order to do the teaching that he wants to do. Imagine. Okay, what is it? Sentient beings' bodies. If you're counting here, this would probably be the 6 paths. So, beings in the hells, ghosts, animals, humans, asuras, and devas. The 6 paths of rebirth. Sentient beings' bodies. He knows our identity in countries, the people of the north and the people of the south, right? The people from the mountains and the people from the river basin, from the valley, the farming people and the ranching people, he knows them, city dwellers and country dwellers. He knows retributions that living beings experience and how that brings about a different body. They say, the very same sutra says, if you kill a lot, what happens? You can lose your body entirely, your human body. But if you come back as a human, usually your lifespan is short and your health is bad. So the act of killing brings a karmic retribution of 2 kinds. Short life, lots of illness. Flip it over, if you bestow life, suppose you are someone who is a caregiver, for example. Someone who teaches hygiene to children, for example. Somebody who takes care of elders, you know, that kind of person. What happens to you? What kind of retributions? Long life, really good health. So karmic retributions, the retribution part, the ye bao part, the bao part is what happens after the ye. So karma, the way the Buddha is described in the sutras, is not just the deeds, it's the deeds and what happens, right? It's cause and effect you take into consideration for karma. The Bodhisattva knows that and is able to use that to teach. Now look at these. Voice hearers, Shravakas, right? Shengwen, solitary enlightened, Dujue, Bodhisattvas, and thus come ones. What are those? Those are the 4 sages' rebirths. We talk about 10 Dharma realms, okay? 10 Dharma realms includes 6 paths of rebirth, samsara, turning, coming back. And then the 4 sages' rebirths where there's no more coming back. These are arhats, these are Pacceka Buddhas, these are Bodhisattvas, and these are Buddhas. This Bodhisattva can use those bodies as well. He knows all 10 Dharma realms, how we come back. Had an interesting experience of that with the 6 Patriarch Sutra this week, where it's a true story. Well, it's a sutra, I suppose. In the tradition, it's accepted as truth. We're back in the Tang Dynasty, and there's rivalry in the Chan Buddhist world. It's not all harmony. There's fighting in the Chan Buddhist world, and the North and the South are fighting. And the North, the disciples of Shanxiu, send an assassin to come and kill the 6th Patriarch. And this guy creeps into the 6th Patriarch's bedroom at night and tries to kill him. And he can't. He can't cut the head off the 6th Patriarch, who's sitting there with his neck stuck out. Please cut right here on the dotted line. And the assassin, can't do it. But what does he see? He sees a chair with 10 ounces of gold. And the sixth patriarch says, I don't owe you my life. I only owe you this gold, he says. And the assassin falls to the ground in shock because he's totally freaked out that this person knows past lives and he can't be killed. And this guy's a professional killer. What about that? So that's knowledge of past lives. He said, I owed you money from the past, but I didn't kill you, so you're not going to kill me back. So it is. Okay, how interesting. There's an account of the ability, it's called Xu Ming Tong, knowledge of past lives. It's one of the six, Liu Tong, the 6 kinds of karmic rebirth. Okay, so my goodness, such things do happen. And it freaked out the assassin. And what did he do? He went off. The sixth patriarch said, I forgive you, take the gold and run. My followers are going to kill you if they find you. And come back later when you disguise yourself and we'll talk, he said. So he did. Flying Cat Zhang, the martial artist assassin, the hitman, took off into the night, came back years later as a monk and sought the Dharma from somebody who he had failed to kill and who forgave him and paid him as a result. So if you're a failed hitman, usually your targets don't pay you, usually, but that's what happened. So, okay, here we go. The Bodhisattva knows all these bodies. Furthermore, he knows wisdom body, the Dharma body, and the empty space body. Those 3 are really interesting because why? How are they bodies? They're invisible. The wisdom body is not visible to my eyes. The Dharma body is completely not visible. And the empty space body is, how is it considered a body? This is part of the Bodhisattva's wisdom as he teaches. Okay. Now, I'm going to move on here. Check this out. The Bodhisattva knows what makes people happy, and he can take others' bodies as his own. That's such a strange idea, isn't it? That it's kind of like remember the Invasion of the Body Snatchers? I'm sure you all saw that film. The Invasion of the Body Snatchers, right? Yes? It's one of the great black and white horror films of the 50s. The Invasion of the Body Snatchers has to do with these pods that come out of empty space. And when the pods go poof on you, somehow they take over. And an alien, it's kind of one of the earlier alien films. And your best friend, your wife, your child, your boss turns into an alien right in front of you because he's been snatched. And is that what's going on here? Take a look. This Bodhisattva is able to yi zhong sheng shen zuo zi shen. He can take sentient beings' bodies and use them as his own body. Why? To teach. Same. It's based on compassion. Whatever works to get you to wake up, that's what this Bodhisattva will do. And when his work is done, body's gone. Okay, goes back. It's no longer needed. It's like a disguise. It's like a costume. And he can do this with country's body, retribution's body, up to and including empty space. So in other words, these 10, the Bodhisattva can use all of these. When you see the words Nai Zhi here, Nai Zhi Shu Kong Shen right there, that means up to and including. So that's a list. And because there's usually 10 in the Avatamsaka. So this is a shorthand for those 10. Okay. Last week, remember this? We were talking about the caste system right here. Last week we were talking about Brahmins, Vaishyas, Shudras, etc. That was our conversation last week about India and how those rigid barriers to people getting along together have come down to the present, that the caste system is still very much in place in India. And some people would tell you that it's not as overt in England, but it's still there. That if you're, and in England, you tell by accent, by language. You can tell what caste somebody belongs to by their language, by the kind of English they speak. And it has to do with their breeding and their education. So, okay, maybe that's not a fair comparison to say it's the same, and it's not. It's not the same thing. In India, there's very little mobility, if any, from the lowest caste to the merchants to the rulers and the warriors to the priests. So in the Buddhist time, it was very strictly observed, but the Buddha himself did away with it. Here you go. This is called a Therigatha. See it? Make it a little bigger up there. There's a body of literature that is part of Buddhist literature in India called the Therigatha and the Therigatha, the songs of the early Buddhist nuns and monks. And it's some of the oldest biographical poetry in the world. Buddhists should be very proud of the existence of the Therigatha and the Therigatha. And here is the story of Sunita. Who is Sunita? Sunita was an outcast. He was a Shudra. He was the lowest caste. Now they're called scavengers or children of God, right? Harijan. Oh, there we go. So how does the story go? This is the verse. It's quite long. I'm going to take you all through it. There's folks nodding out here, and I want to make sure that you have something to pay attention to not fall asleep. So I'm not going to try to sing it because our GoToMeeting software doesn't do instruments very well. It's optimized for voices, right? But I can do it a cappella. Here we go. So this is a poem written by Sunita himself. He was the last of the Buddha's disciples to realize arhatship. This is a success story. Somebody who started out a beggar. He was a garbage man. He walked through the streets with a pole on his shoulder and baskets. And when he saw trash, he would pick it up and put it in the basket and move on. He made his living off of pujas, which are these celebrations in India, various holidays and festivals. And when there's a puja, the wealthy come down and throw their money into the flowers and the food and the decorations. And when things were over, Sunita would show up with his pole and basket and go through the leftover flowers to see if there was anything that he could sell, and the rest he'd throw away, right? So pretty meager, pretty sad existence. But he had one wholesome quality, which was he practiced bowing. Sunita was a bowing garbage man. He practiced making prostrations, making bows, right? He did that all the time, every day. He was very faithful in it. So in this time in India, if you were one of the lowest caste, excuse me, whew, tickling my throat. If you were an outcast, if you're a member of the lowest caste, and you offended somebody from, let's say, the Kshatriya caste, the warriors caste, they could kill you on the spot. If they didn't like you, if you offended them, if your shadow fell on them, They could beat you up, they could kill you, they could destroy you. You were essentially a non-person. So that was the situation with Sunita. But take a look what happens. He says, I was born poor in a lowly family. Father disappeared, there was little to eat. My work was degrading, I gathered withered flowers from the shrines, sold what I could, and threw the rest away. Okay. He never knew his father. He was, raised by a poor mom, and he was on his own from an early age and a garbage man. That's what he did. He picked up the trash at the shrine, at the pujas. People found me disgusting, and they despised me. They just ignored me, or they looked away. The pain of rejection hurt as much as the hunger, but I lowered my heart, and I bowed every day. Okay? People found me disgusting, he says. They despised me. They ignored me, or worse, they just wouldn't even recognize me. You think about the people you see on the street, homeless people. I don't know about the Gold Coast as much, but in the Bay Area in San Francisco and Berkeley and Oakland have a huge homeless population year-round. And it's a very difficult situation. If you really engage with every homeless person, you couldn't walk a block because the stories are so sad, so heart-ripping. So it's sometimes you just have to avert your eyes. And there's people every 10 feet or so, especially around the BART stations. And it's a very difficult situation. The city of San Francisco doesn't know what to do with the situation either. And he's hungry, but the pain of rejection hurts more. Being considered no more valuable than the trash that he picks up in his basket, right? But what did he do? I lowered my heart and I bowed every day. He kept on bowing. Even though people treated him like trash, he was able to keep his spiritual practice going. Okay, what happens next? Then I saw the great hero entering the city, greatly awakened one with his monks in line, the most supreme of the Magadhas, walking like a lotus, pure and refined. Who's the great hero? That's Buddha, entering the city, coming in for alms, greatly awakened. It's the Buddha with his monks in line behind him. They're coming in line. Sometimes 1,250 walk together, right? So he's coming in, and Sunita, the beggar, the outcast, sees him, says, here's the most supreme one from the country of Magadha. This is the country body of the Buddha, right? Walking like a lotus, pure and refined. Okay, what does he do? He does something very brave for a scavenger. He says, lost all fear, I set down my pole and baskets, I drew near and I wanted to bow. And then he, the conqueror of Mara, stopped the line. He stood still out of kindness just for me. Now, the Buddha belongs to the Kshatriya class. He's not a Brahmin. He's not a merchant. He's certainly not an outcast. And as a Kshatriya, he doesn't contact outcasts, Shudras. He doesn't pay attention to them. But what does the Buddha do? He sees this guy walk up, set down his garbage collecting basket, and indicate that he wants to bow. The Buddha could walk right by. This is a garbage man, right? What does the Buddha do? Stops. He says, Ibai, right? One bow. He says, you want to bow? Go ahead. Out of kindness, the leader of 1,250 people stops for the outcast to receive his veneration, to receive his bows. How about that? After showing reverence at the feet of the teacher, I stood to one side and I said these words, O great sage, supreme among all beings, May I take refuge and leave home with you, he says. So he bows to the Buddha because he was practicing bowing anyway. And he, on inspiration, on the spur of the moment, he says something that could probably get him killed. And he doesn't care. He's got very little to lose. He says, great sage, will you accept me as a disciple? I want to take refuge and become a monk. Big gamble on the part of Sunita. Not so easy. He's risking it all, right? What do you think happened? The compassionate teacher raised one hand in a blessing. With the sound of kindness for all the world, he said, come, monk, ehi bhikkhu. That was my ordination. I crossed over and my new life began. Sunita won his wager, his gamble. He picked the right teacher. The Buddha stood there and said, ehi bhikkhu, like that. Come, monk, he said. With the sound of kindness for all the world, he ordained him, took him as a monk right away. Now the story goes, there's a magical aspect to this. The story says that in the Buddha's time, as soon as he accepted you into the Sangha, your hair fell out and a robe covered your body. So that really saves on the razor blades that way. It's true. So on the spot, Sunita's good roots came about, right? Okay, right at this point, there's a major change in the story. If this were a movie, if this were the story of Sunita, the camera it would be an aerial view taken from a drone over the mountains, and it would come down over a hut. And here would be this mountain hut and a hermit monk out in the wilderness cultivating. How I live alone here in the mountains. I never tire as I cultivate the way, following my teacher's words just as he taught me, with one mind by night and by day. Okay, so here's Sunita. What is he doing? In Chinese, you say, 用功办道, right? 用功修行. He's working hard at his cultivation, just the way the Buddha taught him, because he appreciates no longer being starving beggar in the streets, being abused, overlooked, scorned, cursed. Now he's a disciple of the Buddha. Doesn't matter what his background is, what caste he came from. The Buddha looked at his nature, not his body. Okay, what happens next? As the sun went down, I entered Samadhi. I saw my past lives, I got my heavenly eye. Just before dawn, I broke through the mass of darkness. To the state of the deathless, I did certify. Okay, so the sun is going down, and Sunita's meditating, enters Samadhi. His Su Ming Tong comes up, just like we saw with the sixth patriarch. His Tian Yan Tong opens, his celestial vision. And then meditates all night long. Before dawn, Po, Hei Qi Tong, right? He broke through the mass of darkness. He woke up and realized the state of the deathless, right? The way, this is Abhaya Giri, right? State of the deathless. I did certify. Oh, I'm sorry. Amarabhati, Abhaya Giri is fearlessness, not deathlessness. Right? The state of the deathless. He became an arhat, Zhengguo, right there. So Sunita wakes up. This is an enlightenment poem from the original generation of the Buddha's own disciples. Okay, now something inconceivable happens. Now I have to say, there is a little bit of, there's a little edge in this poem. There's some commentary in this poem about the caste system, and here we see it. Oh, the night was ending, and the sun was returning. Indra and Brahma paid their respects to me, with their palms together, shining light, the way gods do with eloquence. They said these words to me. Homage to you, thoroughbred of humans. Homage to you, human supreme. Your afflictions have ended, all your suffering is over. You, dear sir, are worthy of offerings. Okay, conversation, right? Next day, Indra and Brahma, chief among gods. These are in the Hindu pantheon. Indra and Brahma are it, you know. They're the leaders among the gods. Come down to the untouchable and say, they put their palms together, because they're not arhats, right? They're talking to an arhat. They say, homage to you, thoroughbred of humans. Homage to you, supreme human being. Your afflictions are over. Your suffering is ended. You are yinggong. You're worthy of offerings. Okay, how about that? This is the irony, which is what? Shudras, outcasts, scavengers, are the least, the lowest of the low. As far as humans go, you're barely a human, according to the other castes, according to the way the society set it up. The Buddha paid no attention to that, looked at his nature, brought him into the Sangha, and showed him how to wake up. And here the chief among gods, paying respects, putting themselves below the arhat. You're a thoroughbred of human. Okay, how about that? And of course, worthy of offerings is one of the names of the Buddha, one of the 10 titles. Yin Gong, Zheng Bian Zhi, Ming Heng Zu, Shan Shi, Shi Jin Jie, right? Worthy of offerings. Okay, the last verse. The last verse sums it up. And it's a hilarious verse because it's probably the only song in all of folk music where you're going to get the words austerity, celibacy, restraint, and self-control. I think that's beyond doubt. Here we go. Upon seeing me venerated by the Devas, the teacher smiled and he proclaimed, through austerity, celibacy, restraint, and self-control, one becomes a Brahman. He is a Brahman supreme. Okay, here's the irony. He's a Brahman by accomplishment, not by birth. He's an outcast by birth. But because he followed the Dharma and cultivated the way he was taught, with the motive, remembering what it was like to be totally beneath people's regard, now he's a true Brahman, says the Buddha. So a lowercase b, right? Not a Brahman, the priest caste. Instead, he is a thoroughbred of humans. Now, I have to say, I did not change this translation very much. I don't read Pali. I found this from 3 different versions of the Therigatha, but this is pretty much word for word the original. If you go to Access to Insight, let's see here. Okay, Access to Insight. This is one of our favorite Buddhist websites. Here we are. This is access to Pali-based materials. Sunita. Sunita the outcast. Here it is right here. This is Tanisaro Bhikkhus, Tanjef. This is his translation. Look, in a lowly family I was born, poor, with next to no food. Work was degrading. I gathered the withered flowers, threw them away. People found me disgusting, despised me, disparaged me. I showed reverence to me. Same story, word for word. Okay, so look at the bodies mentioned in this poem, right? He's appearing in the body of an outcast, and here's the Buddha who shows up, and what does Sunita mention? His country body, his identity from Magadha. That's what he sees. And he also sees the great teacher. He sees him in his teacher's body, the great hero. Okay, so there's a transformation from beggar to bhikshu to arhat to Brahman. in the course of this poem. And how wonderful. So the question would be, I guess, is what is a body after all? And on one hand, earth, air, fire, and water make up our bodies. The same for mosquitoes, the same for whales, the same for possums, birds, right? Earth, air, fire, and water. Hard parts, warm parts, liquid parts, and spaces. That's universal. So what's the difference? And if you look at what is a body, it has a lifespan. Bodies come into being and pass away pretty quickly. Here's a koala. Koalas don't live very long these days. Their lifespan is shorter than it used to be because they're very slow moving. But I saw a bird sleeping next to me on the rail yesterday, a parrot that can live 40 years. Parrots are extremely long-lived, and yet human life is this blink. You know, we're so concerned about our lives. We protect them and those of our loved ones. And yet, from the Buddhist point of view, we recycle our body every 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 years, rarely beyond that, right? We definitely send it back. Our bodies cycle through, they recycle. And my goodness, that's a hard one to accept. It's really hard to accept our complete powerlessness in the midst of samsara, birth and death. But it's the truth. So let's see what happens next. Let's move on through our text here. Okay, we're going to do further. Here we go. Right here. 佑之众生心之所要，能以果度身作自身，以作众生身、业报身乃至虚空身。We're going to go all the way down to the bottom. 佑之诸众生心之所要，能以业报身作自身，以作众生身、果度身乃至虚空身。佑之众生心之所要，能以自身作众生身、果度身乃至虚空身。随诸众生所要不同，此意此身现如是行。Okay. We are here, starting here. Let's do this paragraph. Further, he knows what makes sentient beings happy. He can adapt the country's body as his own body. He can do this as well with the living being's body, the karmic retribution's body, and the rest, up to and including the empty space body. Further, he knows what makes sentient beings happy. He can adopt the karmic retribution's body as his own body. He can do this as well with the living being's body, the country's body, and the rest, up to and including the empty space body. One more. Further, he knows what makes sentient beings happy. He can turn his own body into living being's body, country's body, and the rest, up to and including the empty space body. He adapts to all different things that make living beings happy and makes such bodies appear from this very body. Okay. Essentially, the sutra is repeating and reinforcing this ability, which on the face of it just defies science and logic. But the sutra is not here to impress us. It's not here to sell sutras. It's not here to make the Buddha a New York Times best-selling author, right? It's here because this is how it is. It says this ability is here in your nature. The body comes and goes. The Bodhisattva, because key, central thing, he got rid of his self. The self is gone, and with that obstacle there, adding to it the compassion and the vows. this Bodhisattva says, I'm going to end your misery as best I can, and only then do I wake up. Only after your suffering's over do I myself become a Buddha. So those are the things that's doing it, right? He has no ego, not attached to any identity inside. He has determined that he's going to end being's suffering, and he's vowed to wait until it's over. For that reason, he can now reflect your wishes. Notice this important thing. He knows what makes people happy. Okay? And he uses that. There's no compulsion here. It's based on people's hearts. And he's going to he's cycling through all these different bodies. And he adapts to all different things that make beings happy, and he makes bodies appear from this very body. Okay, talk to me about this. What do you all think? Locke, anybody online want to have a question about this ability, or anybody in Berkeley or here in Gold Coast? What about this busybody, right? It's so like inconceivable that somebody could do this. Let me suggest something a little closer to us. Inside your skin, where you're sitting, I can pretty much say this without fear of contradiction. You are a child of parents, right? Your body is not yours. It's borrowed. And in the room right here with me in Gold Coast, I can see some moms and daughters. And there are other sets of parents who are in other parts of the campus. So we are all, including the parents now, are children of parents. Some of us, right inside our skin, are parents of children. I'm not. I don't have any children, but some of us are. You see here in the room, there's lots of parents of kids. And yet it's your same skin, right? Not a different person. How many of us are siblings of brothers and sisters? Many of us, right? Lots of 哥哥、弟弟、姐姐、妹妹. So same skin, but yet you have that body, you could say. When your sister shows up, you're her brother, you're her sister. When your friends show up, right inside your skin, a whole nother set of relationships come out, right? Still your same skin, but you're now a friend. You don't respond to your friend the way you do to your parents or to your sibling, and yet you could still do it. When your teacher shows up, wow, in Japanese, when your teacher shows up, you have to change your language. You can't use the same verb endings that you use when you're with your buddies, right? You want to see it, watch a Toshiro Mifune movie, Japanese samurai film, and you get to hear all the different Japanese used for different castes. When a Japanese adult talks to his child, he uses very different verb structures. In French, they have vous and tu, right? Tutoyer. And it's just based entirely on what body you want to bring out. But a different person in front of you brings out an entirely different language. How interesting that this is not so far away as we might think, right? What if you're the teacher and your students show up? You've got a different set of responses for them. Although it's your own skin, you could say the body that manifests, the corpus, the structure of the way you respond is very different based on who you're talking to. And yet it's all inside you, right? You don't have to put in a new CD, change your CD in order to know how to talk to your friends. Then your parents walk in there, I got to switch my operating system. You don't do that. If you don't believe it, watch a Japanese bow to their telephone. When you have Japanese friends, you go, hi, moshi moshi, hi, so desu, hi, so nice, ha, right? Where's the body? The body is completely an empty space, but they're responding appropriately, given Japanese social custom, to somebody they respect on the telephone. And yet their bodies are, it's as if the person were right there in front of them. It's true, you know. And my goodness, that's a very interesting thing. We actually do bring forth different bodies right from this very 此行, right? How does it go? What was that phrase? Said, 自于此身现如是行. In this very body, they make appear all these forms from this very body, right? They make such bodies appear from their very body. So we do the same thing, only it's not a distinct body, it's just all within us. We have these different relationships. The Bodhisattva effortlessly expands this to a huge, incredible scale, being able to teach according to what people enjoy. So how neat is that? Okay. Okay. We're going to go just a little further here. It's good to make up some ground in our sutra. Let's try this line. 此菩萨知众生起业身、报身、烦恼身、色身、无色身. This Bodhisattva knows living beings' bodies that accumulate karma, that accumulate retribution, that accumulate afflictions, their form bodies and their formless bodies. Okay, the body that accumulates karma, that accumulates retribution, that accumulates affliction, their form bodies and their formless bodies. This is a list of what are called zhang, right? Obstacles. There's the ye zhang, the bao zhang, the fan nao zhang, and it's missing one. Traditionally, they say so zhi zhang. There's the retribution obstacle, the karmic obstacle. There's the obstacle of afflictions and the obstacle of what you know. That's very interesting, that intellect and knowledge could be considered an obstacle. Depends on how you use it. So, in the form and the formless body, this Bodhisattva can see that. You can see where you're stuck. I remember on 3 Steps, 1 Bow, while bowing outside of south of Santa Barbara, we came through a small town, and here was, by the side of the road, a sad skunk. There's skunks in Australia? No skunks. Yeah, I don't think so. There's this critter, yeah, in America, North America, called a skunk. And actually, if you can separate them from their smell, they're really cute. They have really cute bodies, especially when they're small. Little skunk kits, they're called. They're really, really cute. But skunks have this ability to put out a smell that stops you. It's so strong and so foul that most people I know simply can't endure skunk smell. And if you get actually blasted by a skunk, you have to, everything stops until you wash off the smell. You know about them, Sam? Skunks, yeah. What are they called in Chinese? Chou you. Chou you. Okay. China? They have them in China? Okay, yeah, you never seen one. Okay. So they live, they're in CTDB. Actually, there are skunks under the Tathagata Monastery. And they live in dens, and they're fairly common. And skunks are often fearless because they, nobody wants to mess with a skunk. And a dog that does, you just hope your dog doesn't meet a skunk, because the dog will happily chase the skunk, and the skunk turns around, puts pulls his tail back, makes his hind legs stiff, and lets go. And the dog, dogs that have been blasted by skunks are miserable. The only thing they say that actually gets rid of skunk smell is tomato juice. I don't know if you can buy anything that gets rid of skunk smell. It's so strong. And so, anybody get blasted by a skunk? Anybody know? So anyway, bowing along the highway, we encountered these skunks, and I saw them, and of course knew not to like bow up to one and say, "How are you?" Probably they would be upset by somebody bowing. Let me have it. But I thought, what kind of retribution comes to a person that they get a skunk body? What kind of horrible thing do you have to do to be reborn as a skunk? And I remember just contemplating that and thinking, gee whiz, you had to do something pretty smelly, something that most people found odious, right? That's the word, odiferous. And then further down the road, I saw the skunk hit by a car and killed. And I thought, oh man, karma and retribution. So the karma is having the thing happen, seemingly without a cause, but of course the cause is invisible. If you saw what that person had done to become a skunk, you'd go, oh, I see, now I understand why. But then the retribution is the result of that repeated behavior. And having then, not only do you have a body that everybody is afraid of, but then that body itself is killed by a car. And I remember being so impressed by the misery of being a skunk, and then being a skunk flattened by a car. How sad that is. So it was kind of, having the body is really, really pathetic, really sad. And what I told myself was, I don't want to do the things that would turn me into a skunk. Here's somebody at the back. So pondering the retribution that would bring you back as a skunk. So interesting. Another thought about bodies. This was something that Professor Verhoeven and I used to talk about, which was it's possible that the Dharma comes to a new country when people's bodies are ready to practice it. And remember, while we were bowing, it occurred to us, because we were at the time completely living as mendicant monks. What we ate every day came to us as offerings. We had no dependable support other than what people were generous enough to give us. And we depended entirely on people's generosity. And we bowed 8 hours a day, and at night we stayed in a station wagon, in a car at night, because you couldn't camp out on the roadside. That was against the law. So we slept sitting up and ate one meal a day of vegetables, right? We were not meat eaters ever. And so to do slow and steady yoga on the side of the road, eating once a day of what was given to us. And if we didn't get it, nobody made offerings, we ate road greens, wild plants gathered from the side of the road. And what occurred to us was that Marty was a all-American athlete. He was a martial artist. He was very physically fit and very strong, very flexible. So he could do that kind of living outdoors. We did not go indoors into a structure for 2.5 years. And I was fit enough that I could do the work, keep bowing. But we thought about things like being able to sit in full lotus. For me, I never had trouble, knock on wood, sitting in full lotus. I had trouble staying awake in full lotus. I could cross my legs, but then I would nod out. And Marty, on the other hand, this big muscular martial artist, he didn't nod. He got real trouble pulling his leg in full lotus. Oh, just good. And I could just see his turn red as the pressure, and he would be patient with the pain. And it occurred to us that the descriptions of men and women who cultivate to success has a lot to do with the ability to be patient. So what would a voice hearer's body, what would a solitary enlightened body look like? For sure, it would be able to take pain in the knees, hunger, discomfort, as Master Hua would say, things that you or most people can't take, you can endure. The ability to be patient and not reach for Tylenol, a beer, a marijuana cigarette, a credit card in order to get through discomfort. Distraction. If we have to get distracted, if we have to amuse ourselves at every turn, constantly checking Facebook and stuff, that's not able to be patient. What's required to succeed in cultivation is a lot of endurance, for sure. The ability to simply wait, right? To wait and take what's coming while the Dharma transforms your consciousness to wisdom. It's not that waiting is good by itself, it's that you have to let the Dharma grow inside naturally, the way plants grow in the garden. The flowers of Bodhi and the fruits of Bodhi are a natural result of the practices and the vows and the inspiration of the sutra, but you have to let it take its time. You can't hurry it. And as long as you provide the conditions and the heat of full lotus and of all the other practices, then that transformation can happen. And the Tathagata's body can manifest ideally at some point inside, our own bodies. So we're hoping that process will succeed in the West. We've got no guarantee that the modern world is ready for a Tathagata's body, but we're counting on that happening someday. Okay, there we go. So these are Bodhisattva's perspectives on bodies. We'll talk about that more later on. And I wanted to show some interesting bodies that we encountered. Let's see. Here it is. That's them. Take a look at some interesting bodies. You Californians probably don't get to see fruit bats, flying foxes. Look at the flying fox. 3 of them. 1, 2, 3. Right there. These are the world's largest fruit bats. These are the wings right here. They're 3 feet across. Just outside, about 7 minutes car ride from here, we have a colony of fruit bats, 1,000 members. Look at those wings. And yet they themselves, their bodies are furry and fuzzy like this. They look kind of like squirrels with these huge, long wings. Oh my goodness. Fruit bats. They're called flying foxes. There's a body for you. How do you get reborn as a fruit bat? Oh my. Let's see here. How about kangaroos? Here's a mama with a baby, with a joey, right there. Look at those bodies, these legs that are so strong. There she is. Lunchtime. This was taken on Australia Day, not far from here, in a place called Kumbaba Creek. There we go. Are they cute? Kind of weird, right? Kangaroos are amazing creatures. Let's see what we got here. There we go. Here's mom and son. Son is still nursing. He's almost as big as mom, and he's still nursing. How about that? Here's another one. This is the scene, Kumbaba Creek. Hundreds of kangaroos. Talk about bodies, right? How unusual. This guy, this character, scratching his belly, showing off for us. How interesting. Happy Australia Day, right? And here's a young guy down by the creek. As we were leaving, he was saying goodbye to us. Look at that tail. Oh my goodness. So interesting bodies. These are, and one day we saw flying foxes, koalas, and these guys. Here's the koala again. Sleepy, eucalyptus eater. Those feet. This character is about 50 feet up in the tree, way up high, sleeping 18 hours. How interesting. So for a guy from Toledo, having a chance to get to meet all these critters is really wonderful. And they're right here in the neighborhood. So. Okay, we are at the end of our lecture time. We're going to continue going through the 10 grounds. And I'd like to ask Jinwei Shi, do you want to give us some information about we're going to get back into activity, right? The winter retreat's over.
Right. Our winter break comes to an end. Tomorrow is the last day of our winter break. On Monday, we'll start the new semester with class Amelia Barini, and like all the classes will start 7:30 p.m. On Wednesday, Stephen Tainer class was already started. On Friday, we're still waiting when the date will be confirmed by Professor Martin Verhoeven. And the class Buddhist for the Modern Mind on Monday will have February 5th. February 5th. So, and also in the next coming Saturday, we'll start normal activity, begins at 9 a.m. We have the Dharma gathering here and practice, communal lunch, Buddha recitation, and so on. So please come to monastery. We're now open again, fully open.
Back again. Okay. Great. Yeah, Marty will begin February 9th, says Locke. I have a note here.
Okay, great.
There's an online question about sitting in full lotus. I won't go into the full answer, but we can talk about that next week. Please do check back in. Master Hua advocated full lotus as the best way to meditate. Notice that Buddha images are sitting in full lotus or half lotus mostly. Not everyone can at the start. It's been my experience that if people practice, if people are determined and stretch. Use yoga or Tai Chi or not calisthenics that tighten our muscles, but things that stretch our muscles. Full lotus is definitely something you can count on doing. Just a quick suggestion, if you're able to sit for 5 minutes in full lotus, practice it every day. And at the end of February, extend it to 7 minutes. At the end of March, practice for 15 minutes, right? And within a year, if you really do sit in full lotus, and then when you actually can't take it, and you've reached your time, you can drop your legs into half lotus or half lotus to no lotus. Give yourself a timed stretching. Challenge yourself to extend the time, and you definitely can. It's something the body will stretch. There are exercises specifically for getting to the muscles that allow our hips to open so we can sit in full lotus. And those are available online, but a good yoga teacher will teach you that as well. So I would encourage you, please do try sitting in full lotus and extending your time as you can, all right? Okay, we'll talk about it more next week. That'll be one of our topics. We'll talk about the full lotus body that bodhisattvas can adapt, okay? All right, let's get our dedication to merit up. Thank you all for joining. And tell you what I'm going to do. I will use the guitar and see how it sounds. We'll do it with guitar. And we're always trying to figure out how to get instruments involved in GoToMeeting because it's optimized for voice, not for strings. So let's try it with guitar, and then we'll listen and see how it sounds, and then make a decision on whether we're ever gonna do it again, all right? So we need to make a wish. We need to make a transference vow. Here we go, thank you for joining. May every living being, our minds as one and bathed with life, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see, our hands and hearts can find in giving unity. May our minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all sorrow leave where we can. May this boundless light dispel the darkness of their endless sky. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate, and may all become compassionate and wise. Okay, Heng Sure, would you lead everybody to bow? Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you next week with more of the Avatamsaka Sutras, 10 grounds. Om Mani Padme.